Husker Nation, how we doing tonight on a Tuesday night? Of course, at 7 o'clock Central Time there in Lincoln, GBR. It's almost time for football. We're just a few weeks away from Big Ten Media Days, right into August camp, and then, of course, the opener against the Illini of Illinois and some payback due after 41-28 there in 2020. This is our Nebraska Live show that we bring you each and every Tuesday night, again, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And the guy that makes it happen, Greg Peterson from Husker Online. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Mark. How's it going?
I'm doing well. What have you been up to?
Oh, made it through the holiday with the dogs are all still sane now, and I still have all my digits. So, yeah, doing okay.
Well, I've got a son who's a dog trainer, and sometimes he wonders if he's got all his digits because he's not necessarily training the soccer mom's dogs. He's training some serious dogs that can hurt you. So, yeah, he's got to suit up and be ready for just about anything. All right, folks, as we mention each and every week, but even more so this week, you produce the show. When it comes right down to it, Greg and I will talk for an hour, and we'll talk college football and, of course, Nebraska first and foremost. But bring your comments, your questions, your debate topics, anything you'd like us to address in terms of Nebraska football. But so we'll get to the live chat. You guys go to it there. And bring your friends online. So we're at the point in the season in which everything's going to explode here in just a few weeks. You know, we've had all this recruiting to talk about, but in terms of what's happening and going to happen in 2021, it's just about to roll here. I know it's the calm before the storm right now, but here in about 3 weeks, again, Big Ten Media Days, and there'll be things to talk about because things will be said and brought up, and then we'll roll right into camp and have a lot of position to address and hopefully not injuries, but there's going to be news to deal with. And of course, that opener is an early one against Illinois. All right. So please bring some folks on board with you. We've had better crowds the last couple of weeks, but we hope that they improve even more. So don't just enjoy the show yourself. Bring some friends and family along with you to talk Nebraska football. All right. Everybody, when they talk positions, they go right in line: quarterback, running back, wide receivers, on through the offense, then onto the defense. Let's switch it up here. How about defensive back? Because we've talked about the strength of this unit on the entire rosters defensively. And then if you look at the defense, you go to that defensive secondary just with the one corner position that was vacated. You bring in a former 5-star. Who knows how he's going to perform? He hasn't been able to do that at this level, but the talent is certainly there. Your thoughts about the Huskers at corner?
Well, if you're going to start breaking down position groups and, maybe we ask that question to the fans and say which position group are you most comfortable with going into the season and, on down to which one are you not? I think you have to start at corner. Corner right there is loaded. Cam Taylor-Britt, we all know, is one hell of a football player, and he's going to be drafted in the NFL when he's done here in Lincoln. And he's the heart and soul of not just the defense, but I think this whole team. And that makes this position group probably the most happy to have coming back, the ones that make you want to, that you're going to be proud of. We know what Cam Taylor-Britt brings to the table. And then, well, I guess we're talking the whole defensive secondary. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I said corner there a second ago, but
I did too.
Yeah. but when you also have, a Markel Dismuke coming back and Deontay Williams coming back. It's unbelievable with the amount of games that these guys have played, with the experience they have, and it's been fun to watch these guys grow up from an 18-year-old high school player to they're a full grown ass man now, and they're still playing college football here in Lincoln. And so you have to be excited about those guys coming back, and because you already know that those guys can all play at a high level. And right now you're thinking maybe Quentin Newsom has that job, but we don't know because Tyreek Johnson comes in here from Ohio State, a former 5-star, like you mentioned, Mark, and we haven't got to see him play yet. But if you're going to rank him in like a list of your top 40 Huskers or something like that, I think you got to rank him in there pretty. That you're thinking he's going to play a lot of snaps here. He might not have done what he wanted to at Ohio State, but he comes in here with a second chance here at Nebraska, and who knows, he could win that job. You just don't know right now. So, you know what? I'm super excited about this secondary, and I think this is one of the biggest strengths of this Nebraska defense, and it's going to pay dividends. I think you're going to see these guys have already proven that they can produce some turnovers, but I think it's going to really blow up a lot this year.
Some of the best production on the defense, as you mentioned, comes from that secondary. Deontay Williams coming back from a 51 tackle season. And again, that was an 8-game season. You expand that out to 12 to 13 games. You're talking about racking up 80, 85 tackles, 4 tackles for loss and a sack with 4 passes defense. Markeldus Muke, 47 tackles right behind him, 4 tackles for loss and 3 passes defensed. Cam Taylor-Britt, had a nice season as well. 2 picks and 3 tackles for loss.
Yeah, these guys are going to produce, and when you add in, you get some more pass rushers going in there, and just a solid offense that's not always putting your defense in such a horrible position that I think these guys are going to flourish. And, I think that turnover margin is going to go up quite a bit with these guys. And we saw, Cam Taylor-Britt, he had that beautiful interception there against Iowa there this season. That was just amazing. Just a big pump up for the whole crowd and everything. And this kid's going to be a leader of this group. And with Travis Fisher coaching these guys, the sky's the limit. You already got 3 guys that have already bought into his program or to his style and everything. And I just expect tons and tons from this position group.
Folks, if you missed last week's show, Greg just alluded to the turnover rate, offense and defense. We highlighted that last week and had a discussion about that. Just this blows my mind. Bottom 3 in the nation in turnover rate offensively, meaning you're turning over the ball worse than any team in the country outside of 2 teams. Bottom 3 in the nation turning the ball over offensively. Bottom 15 in the nation getting turnovers. So they had to, you combine those 2, they had the worst rate in the nation. Okay. Then on top of that, bottom 3 or 4 in the nation in producing explosive plays in the passing game. Only 4 passes the entire season over 30 yards, and they still go 3-5 and play everybody within 1 score except for Ohio State and Illinois and win 3 games against some decent teams. And I just got to think that they're winning most of the plays. That if you would measure each play and say who won that play, that Nebraska, since they're losing the turnover battle and they're not producing explosive plays, like they're pushing people around at the line, both sides of the ball. Yeah,
we've seen that a lot. It's those mistakes and those turnovers that have just shot them in the foot time in and time out, and you're always putting that defense in a really tough position because they're not having to defend 80, 90 yards of the field. They're having to defend 10, 20 yards of the field. And, you can't win very many ball games doing that. So, we've all talked about this so much since last year that you have got to limit those turnovers and stop putting the rest of the team in just a horrible position. And then that ratio that swaps around, at least it gets a lot better. You got to start putting the pressure on the opponent and making them the ones that are scrambling around and making mistakes and turning the ball over because they're the ones that are getting beat. So we'll see.
Alan, we appreciate you reminding everyone to hit the thumbs up. So when you hit the like button on the video, it's not to make Greg and I feel better. So it's not for us to feel good because we got 75 likes, even though that's nice. But that's not the reason you do that. The reason you do that is because YouTube has a built-in algorithm that they just don't want people watching videos. They want you to watch for a long time. So they're measuring the duration of that people watch. And then they're also measuring the engagement, the number of comments, the number of likes. So that helps push it into the stream of the videos that are suggested by YouTube. So anytime you go on YouTube, you see on one side of the screen, you'll see suggested videos. Well, we want to get pushed into that category because then more people, it's just been, it's just obvious, and it's been researched, and it's been proven that people click on the videos that are suggested because they're sitting right in front of them. So they're going to push on those videos. And then also keep in mind, Alan brought up a little bit later in the chat, he was asking about the super chat. So the super chat is an opportunity for you to contribute to the show. So that should be available. And if it's not, please let me know, because we are monetized here at the Voice of College Football on our Nebraska channel. So the super chat should be available. And you can also contribute to us. Just go to MarkRogersTV. So to go to Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App, just search MarkRogersTV. The only thing that I would ask is if you want to contribute specifically to this show, that you would put some kind of notation on that as well. All right. We can move on to those linebackers. They're back as well.
Yeah, you got a whole host of them coming back, minus Will Honus, that's out with an injury.
Yep.
But, yeah, you can kind of go across the board and, take your pick. These guys are going to have a lot of time to shine this year. You got guys like Caleb Tanner, who's been grooming himself to be one of those breakout kind of guys. Chris Kolarvik, the Northern Illinois transfer, is a guy that really sticks out in my mind, that I think he's going to make a lot of plays. Omaha Burke product, Nick Henrich, is going to have a lot of time to shine this year. Luke Reimer, what can you say about him? I think he might be, he could be a first team all Big Ten linebacker in my mind, if he puts together a big season. Then probably my favorite player on the whole team is Garrett Nelson. I mean, this guy, we've already seen, I told you about him, Mark, when he was still in high school, and I told you about this guy's motor. And this guy's one of the most complete football players I've ever seen. He reminds me of a Dick Butkus type of a guy, but an outside linebacker and a pass rushing guy, and a guy that can put his hand down in the dirt if he had to. But he plays with that kind of passion, and you can probably just see my face light up when I talk about Garrett. And, I'm looking for a big breakout year out of him. So, and then there's a lot of other guys that throw in there too that are going to get a lot of playing time. So, yeah, I love this group of linebackers, and like we've talked about a lot of these position groups have the most talent and the most depth that we've seen since Scott Frost took over here, and linebacker is absolutely one of those spots.
Breaking down Nebraska position by position here on our Huskers Live show, 24th edition here with Greg Peterson. You can join him on Husker Online. So that's the Nebraska site for Rivals, if you're not aware, and you know the Rivals brand. So HuskerOnline.com. Also, just go to YouTube right here. Go up to the search bar and just put Husker Online right in the search bar. You're going to follow Greg over to his YouTube channel where, my goodness, it's just phenomenal. When I first caught it during spring practice and saw all sorts of positional drills, and I saw news conferences on there and player interviews, coaches interviews, just great stuff right there. Anything recently posted there?
I don't think it's been like a week. There's just nothing going on right now.
Sure.
I wish there was. And I have to admit, I've been kind of taking a vacation myself. So there's always some stuff I could put up there just to have some things running. But like I said, kind of vacation time, and time's getting short here until we get really, really busy. So not a lot new on there. If there were a press conference or anything, we would have it up there. But I think we're waiting since Ronnie Green talked about the AD search last week. I don't think I've added anything to it right now. But stay tuned. We'll have plenty more.
And just to highlight some of the stats for the players that Greg just reviewed, JoJo Doman led the team in tackles with 58, 6.5 tackles for loss. Will Honus had 57 stops. He was only one behind, 6.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Luke Reimer, 40 tackles, 5 sacks, or 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks.
Yeah.
Some of those big playmakers at
position. Yeah, I kind of did overlook JoJo Doman, and I can't believe I would do that because he's another one of those guys right there with Cam Taylor-Britt, who's heart and soul of this defense, and I'm pretty sure JoJo's going to play on Sundays too. So, yeah, my bad on that one. Look for JoJo to have a huge year this year. He was one of those guys that didn't participate in spring practice. Not out of necessity, but he just didn't want to put any more wear and tear on his body when you don't need it. If I had to look to 3 leaders on that defense, it would be Cam Taylor-Britt, JoJo Doman, and Ben Stille. So I apologize, JoJo, the Dominator, if you're watching.
Yeah, and I got to say, the thing that comes to mind, unfortunately, with Cam Taylor-Britt is nothing negative that he did, but didn't he miss 2 halves because of targeting this past season?
Yeah. He did.
And at least one of them was,
yeah,
if not both of them. Yeah,
one of them was, I think, it was a good call. The other one was not. So that's an argument we're never going to win.
They should at least make it fair and equitable. It's the only rule in football that penalizes you based on the time left in the game. It doesn't make any sense. Like you could, it could be halfway through the third quarter, and if you make a wrong move, you're going to miss the rest of that game in the first half of the next game. Or it could be the last play of the game, and you're just going to miss the first half of the next game.
Yeah.
Why don't they just make it 1 quarter or something like that? I don't know, a number of series or something. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't think there should be any kind of penalty moving to the next game. I mean, that's okay. If you're going to call him targeting, he's done for the day. Let it go. I don't see. That's the only fair way I see it in my mind. And, it doesn't matter the time of the game that way. And, if you did it on the first series of the game, okay, you're done. But, you can come and play next week. You can start the next game.
How many players might be going for cheap shots in that final series of a 42-10 game? I don't think so either. But
go through anybody's mind. These guys nobody's thinking about a cheap shot. That's just not, in this day and age, that doesn't happen anymore. Because you're going to get penalized on a cheap shot anyway. Even if you don't get it caught by the officials, you know what? Tape on the next day when the team's watching the game tape, the coaches are going to see that, and then you're going to get your ass in trouble. So, yeah, I don't see that happening.
True. Where was I going with this? Anyway, we've got Kyle on the line asking about, and certainly understand, folks, if you've missed previous shows, Greg has run down every recruit. So anybody who's been committed for 2022 or 23, Greg's run them down for us, number 1. Number 2, if you're looking at targets, we've discussed that for weeks and weeks and weeks, and Greg has analyzed all the targets. And then we're looking at Kyle's question here about one of the recent quarterback commits, of course, Richard Torres. And so, again, Greg has addressed this, but will again, in regards to Torres' potential, what kind of player he is, how do you see him working out?
Well, so far so good. I love this kid. He's actually the biggest quarterback that Nebraska has ever recruited in the modern recruiting era, and he is a tall drink of water, that's for sure. I can't wait to go see him play here. I have not looked at the Texas schedule yet, but I will be down there in San Antonio as quickly as possible. Texas usually starts a little bit later than most states too, so I was kind of hoping to go down there on week 0, but I highly doubt they're playing then. But yeah, I can't wait to go meet up with Brian Munson, our recruiting analyst, and go see Richard play. And then I can give you a better a little bit better analysis of him. But on tape, he looks great. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's got all those intangibles that you look for going to the next level. So I think he's going to come in here and he'll compete for a job right away. So yes, I'm very intrigued about him, and can't wait to see him get here on campus after his senior year, and after I get to go see him play in person before he gets here.
Tends to get a little warm down in Texas, so they want to push off that high school season as much as possible.
I think they might the limelight too of playing a little bit deeper into December as well.
Got Blake Smith on the line asking about Nebraska's chances for the Western Division of the Big Ten. So, Greg, you can hammer home that one, and I will then give my 2 cents.
Going in right now, there's a lot of unknowns in the West, and I put Nebraska's chances right up there with about anybody that you could call a contender for the West right now, until we, kind of get about 3 or 4 games deep into the season. So I think it's the wild, wild West this year, because you have a lot of guys that graduated from schools like Wisconsin and Iowa. So you got some questions there on where they go, and Northwestern's always a wild card coming off as Big West champs, Big Ten West champs, and we'll see if Purdue can get it back, and Minnesota is always under PJ Fleck has always been tough. So right now, I think it's a toss-up right now, and I think Nebraska's got about as good a shot as anybody right now.
So I think conventional wisdom is that Wisconsin and Iowa are the 2 best teams in the division. Northwestern's probably going to cycle down. They, of course, won the division 2 of the last 3 years. They had a really good team last year, but they tend to cycle down. They tend to need that senior class to be strong, and they've lost a lot. But I wouldn't put it past Pat Fitzgerald to be in contention. No question about that. If you're just looking at strictly talent, it is a toss-up.
Yeah.
Like, Wisconsin is always there, and Iowa, to a lesser degree, is just about always there, but they're no more talented than anybody else. They just have their programs and their systems and their approach down.
Yeah. You got a smooth running machine going there, and that's what everybody strives for, and obviously that's what Nebraska's been looking for several years now. So if this is the year that Nebraska starts to put things all together, then I put them right up there with Wisconsin and Iowa to be the 3 favorites to come out of the West. And especially, last year, Wisconsin didn't get a fair shake at anything. They hardly played any games because it seemed like every other week there was a COVID issue, either with them or their opponents. So, it will be interesting to finally get a regular year where things are we don't have any restrictions, and everybody knows that they're going to go play the next weekend against who's on their schedule, and we'll see how it plays out. And I think this might be the probably one of the more exciting years that you're going to see in the Big Ten West. If you look over on the other side, you know what? It always looks like Ohio State still, like it has been. So, I think everything that you're going to be looking at in the Big Ten that's going on is going to be this race going on in the West, especially when we get into conference play. And that's the nice thing that Nebraska has. They get conference game in really early, and if they win that game, that just builds momentum going for them going on. When they do get into conference play after their next 3 non-conference opponents.
Greg, I'm right there with you. I couldn't agree anymore, because when viewers comment back to me about the Big Ten Western Division, and this has been going on for years, but even now, the term that I hear more than any from people that are just, maybe they're not attached to a team in the Big Ten West, just a college football fan, is that it's boring.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a glitzy team. They don't have Ohio State, Clemson. But to me, what you just mentioned was, unless something catastrophic happens, I think Ohio State's going to be in the Big Ten championship game. That's not interesting to me. Clemson's going to be in the ACC championship. That is not interesting to me. They're so much better than everybody else. And it's not that the division, I'm going to separate it from, let's say, the Pac-12 South, the ACC Coastal, that are marginal divisions. This is not a marginal division. It does not have an elite program. But
Right.
man, I think it's fascinating. I think it's the most interesting division in the country.
I agree.
I think there's like 5 teams that are roughly top 25 to 30 teams in the country. I think it's really balanced and exciting and interesting.
You know what? It kind of makes me feel bad that, we're leaving Penn State and Michigan State out of this conversation, just because of where they're situated in the conference.
In Indiana.
Yeah, and upcoming Indiana. You forget about that.
Yeah.
So, the juggernaut that Ohio State has on their side of the conference and the conference overall really does make that uninteresting, because that race is not up for grabs week 0. Right, and like you just said, you got 5 potential teams that could be top 25 teams that nobody knows who the favorite would be right now. It's all speculation, and it's going to be fun to watch these guys all pound on each other and see what they've got to offer this year. And maybe for Nebraska fans that have been clamoring for Nebraska to be substantial again and to actually play to their potential, this could be the year, and all of a sudden make this maybe the premier side of a conference in the country.
If somebody came to me today and said Purdue won the Big Ten West or Illinois won the Big Ten West, I would be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked, especially with Brett Bielema, and especially since Purdue up until a year and a half ago was ascending. They were on the ascension. I would be a bit surprised. The other 5, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No.
Any of them.
No. They've all got that potential. So, and we've seen them all show it, really, except for Nebraska lately.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great division race. I don't think there's any question about that. All right.
What other intriguing conference race could you think of, like in the NFL? Maybe the NFC East, because they all are not very good and kind of the same. As far as an interesting storyline on who's going to win that conference.
Yeah, unless something proves otherwise, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State have theirs locked down. Oregon is near lockdown mode. I do think that between USC, Arizona State, Utah, that's a fairly interesting, they've all been good to varying degrees recently. And I think that's somewhat interesting. If Alabama could get knocked down a peg or two, obviously LSU is a tremendously talented team, and so is Texas A&M and Auburn, and so that could be interesting. Georgia, I know Florida just won it, but Georgia looks like they own it. Yeah, there's not a whole lot out there.
Yeah, the SEC is in the same boat, I think, because Ohio State, Alabama kind of mirror that as far as owning the conference. And that one side of the conference is always going to be playing for the second spot. And then that other side's always wide open and very interesting. Very interesting to watch.
There's a few questions concerning Scott Frost. We talk about Scott Frost every week and basically answer the question. And in no way do we expect you folks to be here every week and to hear everything. So I'm not getting there, because we do answer the questions as they come and answer them repeatedly from different angles. But the Scott Frost thing, again, we'll be talking about that until they play a football game. So, we can get to that, but unless Greg's got something, I've made my piece on that one, and we'll address it again. But he's got to win. Now, to what degree he's got to win, I believe that they've got to show not substantial improvement, but something that's measurable. 6-6, get to a bowl game, play well in the bowl game. something in that range.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying week in and week out. Show progress, make it to a bowl game, and be relevant again, basically. That's what you need. And yes, Scott Frost, like we've said so many times, if it goes poorly again this year, then definitely he will be on the hot seat. People just have to remember, too, that right now with his contract and his buyout, it's almost impossible to fire Scott Frost. The university would be in debt for who knows how long, because you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a new football complex, and not a lot of extra money to fire a coach and then have to continue to keep paying him, and then on top of that have to put in the kind of bucks to hire somebody that would make everybody happy. Right now Scott Frost and his staff is the highest paid Nebraska staff there ever has been. And that's one thing that Bill Moose did as AD when he was here, is he finally opened up the pocketbooks and started paying coaches, because for the longest time, Nebraska's been so notorious on being kind of cheap as far as paying their coaches. So, yes, that question I saw, actually, Tom Osborne was actually, just to correct you, was brought in to fire Bill Callahan. And then he was the one who hired Bo Pelini. Then later on, Sean Eichhorst was brought in to fire Bo Pelini. And then that was kind of a disaster with his hire of our good friend, Coach Riley. And I'm going to say, I love Coach Riley. He's one of the greatest guys I've ever met. So now Bill Moose was brought in to make the hire of a Scott Frost, which it didn't matter who the AD was going to be, because Scott Frost was the only real candidate for that job. So Bill Moose came in here. He had some nice hires. He had some hires that any AD would have done here. I do give him a lot of credit on the Fred Hoiberg hire. He's the one who made that thing happen. So the next AD is coming in here to actually come and back the football program, and he's not being brought in here to fire Scott Frost whatsoever. The new AD is being brought in here to help bolster the football program and carry things on from what Bill Moose had built with a lot of the other programs, with coaching hires and additions to those programs and everything. So Scott Frost is not in any trouble whatsoever right now. That's a long-winded answer for a real short answer that should have been.
LeBron Beasley, I hope I'm pronouncing your first name correctly. LeBron's asking for a win-loss prediction record. I will let you know, LeBron, that I will make my final predictions about a week before the season for everybody. So I will say right now, it looks like a 6-6 record to me, but don't put me on record for that. But it looks like 6-6 is what I'm shooting at.
Yeah, going in right now, I say 6-6 myself, and kind of leaning to maybe a 7-5. That's where I'm thinking right now, and anything on top of that would definitely be gravy. But I don't see this team losing any more than 6 games, just because of the personnel and the talent that they've acquired on this roster.
Now, this is a good one, Greg. Moonbot7. This is an out-of-the-box question, and it depends. Some people won't care about this. Other people are stats nerds, so they care about this kind of stuff. So I have pulled up
That's a good question.
The career, season, and game records for Nebraska football, and Moonbot is wanting to know what single-season records could be broken this year. So just to set you up, Greg, who do you think is the all-time passing leader in yardage?
Yardage?
Yes, total yardage in a career.
Oh boy. It's got to be recent here, isn't it? Adrian Martinez almost.
He's fourth.
Oh, he's fourth. Okay, then I don't know.
It's Tommy Armstrong.
Okay, Tommy Armstrong.
Now, if Adrian Martinez throws for about 3,200 yards, he will become the all-time passing leader in school history.
Yeah, probably won't make that.
Who do you think has thrown for the most yardage in a season?
Brooke Behringer?
It's 3,568. Who was your guess?
I said Brooke Behringer.
No. More recent.
More recent.
And it's not Tommy Armstrong.
No, it wouldn't be. Oh, what's his face?
Joe Gans.
Oh, Joe Gans did.
Is the all-time passing record for a single season.
Now that you say that, yeah.
And Joe Gans also has the two highest single game records: 510 yards and 484 in 2007.
Yeah, how about
against Kansas State and Colorado. And ironically, even though those were the two best games, those were the two best games. And I mean, when I say best games, I mean statistically, that doesn't mean they were the best games. Yeah. Ironically, he threw for more yardage in a season in which he didn't have those two highest games of all time. So Moonbot's looking at the single season. So I don't have the freshman rushing record. Now the record for rushing in a season, Mike Rozier, 2,300 yards. That's craziness.
Yeah, I would not feel comfortable putting any kind of either kind of a running back on any of that right now with what we've seen in the offense. So I would throw rushing yards out for a freshman.
But Moonbot is saying basically the freshman record.
Yeah,
now I don't know what that is. I don't see him getting enough carries to do that. I think he's going to be more of a specialized guy coming in for tough yards and stuff. But we don't know yet. But that's why I see out of him, because I think the bulk of the carries are going to go to your two young guys, your Marvin Scott and your Gabe Irvin, and I think Yant's going to be the pounder. So we'll see. We'll see right now, because we still haven't seen Marquis step at all. We don't know if he's going to offer anything. So we just don't know at this point. But I would definitely, like I said, I would not put rushing yards from a running back in any of that conversation. Mike Rozier, of course, is the career rushing leader with about a 300-yard lead over Amir Abdullah. And Rozier is the single season leader, of course, at 2,300 yards. And Amon Green is the only other back to gain over 2,000 yards in a season, although Lawrence Phillips is right there at 1,826 in a game. So it's the single season record, the career record, all the guys that you would guess: Lawrence Phillips, Amon Green, Mike Rozier, Amir Abdullah, all those guys. The single game record, though, is Roy Halou against Missouri at 307.
Yeah. That was awesome. Roy Halou was a heck of a running back. Played a lot of years in the NFL, too. So, yeah, I mean, Nebraska's got to be considered running back up there with a lot of those schools that,
sure.
With all the guys that, that they've put in there. But the whole time you were talking about that, I'm still thinking about Moonbot's question. And I think I come up with one that I think will be broken.
Okay.
Is wide receiver touchdowns in a single season. I'm not going to say who, but I think there will be an individual leader in touchdown receptions coming out of this season.
Okay. They are going to have to catch 12 touchdowns to tie the record.
Well,
Quincy Enunwa has the record.
I think it can be done.
Yeah, it could be done. Yeah, that's not a ton of touchdowns. It's a great season, obviously, but Enunwa, 2013, 12 touchdowns. Johnny Rogers has the all-time record with 25
as a career. Yep.
Yeah, and then in one game, you got a ton of guys with 3.
Well, you had Stanley Morgan threatening for that record, so I think it can be done when you got a couple guys like Omar Manning and Samari Torre. I think there's a lot of firepower out there, and with a lot of big-bodied receivers that, if they can move the ball on the ground, then I think that passing attack is going to explode.
Now, I do remember this happening when Stanley Morgan became the first Nebraska receiver to gain 1,000 yards in a season. I do remember that happening. That was only in 2018.
Yep.
And J.D. Spielman has the two best games in the history of the program in terms of yardage receiving against Wisconsin and Ohio State.
And I don't see a big receiving yardage game, out of anybody like that this year, because I think there's just too many guys to spread the ball around to. So, and then, like I'm saying, I think there's going to be that one special recipient that catches a lot of those touchdowns when they get down there close.
Nighthawk is asking, and we didn't necessarily hit this specific question, but we were running down the schedule a few weeks ago and talking about kind of a path to a reasonably good season, what that would look like. And man, the schedule's so tough that they need to pick somebody off to really have a nice, especially hit that 7-5 mark. They're going to have to pick somebody off, maybe two teams. Nighthawks asking for the most reasonable, most likely upset.
I'm actually feeling two.
Okay.
And they're towards, farther on in the season. I think Nebraska's going to beat Wisconsin and Iowa this year. That's just kind of my feeling right now. Obviously, I think they're going to play well at Oklahoma, which will springboard them into a, playing Ohio State kind of tough. And I'm just feeling it. It's been too long. I think Iowa and Wisconsin both take an L from Nebraska this year. So,
wow.
Yeah. How about that?
Greg, I do a show on here with Florida State. There's a guy that comes on, and I love him, but he just kills me with these hot takes. He calls them hot takes every week. And I'm always saying, that is not a hot take. That's pretty standard stuff. Now, that's a hot take.
There you go.
Nebraska sweeping Wisconsin and Iowa down the stretch.
Yeah, but
that would be phenomenal.
I don't know. I'm feeling it. I'm just feeling it.
Because I was trying to guess, kind of gauge it before that. They should go into those two games about 6-4.
I'm thinking so. Yeah. So, hey,
Illinois.
If you've already secured yourself with a bowl shot, look out.
Illinois, Fordham, Buffalo out at the gate. They should be 3-0. Okay, they lose one at Oklahoma. They're 3-1. Let's say they go to Michigan State. They win. They're 4-1. Just to bring it back some. Let's say they drop one to Northwestern. They're 4-2, but they beat Michigan. They're 5-2, and I'm going to give them between Minnesota, Purdue, and Ohio State. They lose 2 out of 3. They're 6-4.
I like it. Yeah.
It's not overly optimistic. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
And then if they can finish with those 2 wins,
that's
my goodness.
That's what if you've got a winning record going in late in the season, I think they're finally going to put some things together and show Iowa and Wisconsin that they're starting to catch up to them. That's just my feeling.
Yeah. Well, and you also have to figure under your scenario, if they're 8-4 and they lost to Oklahoma, that makes them 6-3 in the Big Ten. And if they've put an L on Wisconsin and Iowa, maybe they create some kind of crazy log jam at the top. And, there's like 3 6-3 teams and they've got the 2 W's and they win a tiebreaker.
Yep.
I love those kind of scenarios.
Well, it's like we need to get back to the normal for Husker fans is you got to beat those teams that you're supposed to beat. So, in Nebraska's mind, those teams are your Minnesotas and your Purdues and your Illinois and your Northwesterns. I don't think there's any of those teams that Nebraska thinks are even an equal to them, even though they've shown that they are in recent years. And I think that once you can show that now you can beat a Wisconsin and an Iowa, on top of not losing to those other teams that you should be beating, that maybe Nebraska's finally arrived again. And that's what Nebraska fans hope to see, obviously.
I've just realized that Husker fans are probably being fairly kind with me, or maybe grumbling under their breath that I've got an Oklahoma helmet right above my shoulder here. So that was not intentional, folks. So renewing the rivalry this year. So we got John Trumbull. Love the show. Thank you there, John. So what everyone can do who loves the show is, number one, hit the like button. Number two, get some other people in here. So either go out there on social media, you talk to people all the time, you post stuff on Twitter, on Facebook, let people know that we're here talking Nebraska football, or just talk to them directly. Say, hey, you're a Nebraska fan. We talk Nebraska football every Tuesday night. Or, hey, you just love college football, because we've got, as you see, Notre Dame fans, Ohio State fans, Michigan fans, all sorts of fans in the live chat. So if you love college football, bring some other folks along with you. That helps us build the content here in the channel in this particular show. And also consider contributing here, whether it be through the super chat, or you see down at the ticker, PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. Search Mark Rogers TV. And again, if you want to contribute specifically to this show, please leave a note there so I know that. John is looking at the offensive line and wondering who you really like up front.
I like a lot of guys up front. I think you're going to see the leader of that offensive line this year is going to be Turner Corcoran. He's taken over that coveted left tackle spot. And, he's already had a season under his belt, and he's a beast. I love this kid. I loved seeing him in high school. He played in Lawrence, Kansas, at Free State High School there out of Lawrence. And he was a beast. He was a U.S. Army All-American, and he is the next guy in line to be that leader on that offensive line. And Cam Jurgens right alongside of him. I think Cam Jurgens has put all his snapping issues behind him and stuff, and I think it's his time to shine and show what kind of trust that Coach Frost instilled in him, moving him to a position that he'd never played before when he was a true freshman. He came in here as a tight end, and Coach Frost and Coach Austin saw right away with his potential at the center position that he could have a long career in the NFL. And I think you're going to see a big breakout year from him. And then you got to add on another freshman, Bryce Benhart, the big 6'9" monster. He's going to start on that other side at tackle, and he's going to. He had a few games last year to get his feet wet in, and it's his time to show that he was a big, highly recruited kid, a highly ranked recruit. And you throw in another guy on that starting offensive line, a Nebraska native, Ethan Piper, who's another guy that's really progressed since his time here in Lincoln. And now he's going to get a lot of time to shine here. And a couple other Brant Banks, I think, is going to play a lot. And Matt Stickerman as well is going to produce a lot. So there's a lot of guys to look forward to on this offensive line, and a lot of depth. And I think there's going to be Coach Austin is going to find a rotation in there that makes things work and keeps guys fresh. And I think you're going to see a big, big improvement in the offensive line play this season.
Viking Steel is asking me, Mark, why don't you have a Husker helmet? Okay. I'm not. I answered a question the other day, and I had to put my sarcasm aside and just shoot straight and just answer the question. And I'll do that here. Basically, what happened was I decided to buy these helmets for my set. This was prior to the 2016 playoff, and so that was Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Washington. So I got those 4 helmets for the playoff. Boom. So I had those 4. And then maybe a couple of years later, I said, okay, I'm going to get some more helmets. And I just wanted to represent each conference to a certain extent, 2 or 3 from each conference. Well, I went to the top teams in those conferences. I went USC and Washington. I went Texas, Oklahoma. I went Ohio State, Michigan, and maybe Wisconsin. I've got, and so forth and so on. I won't go through the whole thing, but basically, I would say the next level of teams that I didn't get to, I should have a Georgia helmet. I should have a Penn State helmet. Should have an Auburn helmet. But if you're looking all time, yes, Nebraska and Penn State should be next. But yeah, that's where we are. So you folks can always buy them for me. There's a YouTube guy on that tells me that he's got people buying him helmets like every other day. So
hey,
you can always send them my way.
Yeah, send them here too. I'll take. I don't just have Nebraska stuff. So
absolutely.
I think I need to put a shelf up behind me so we can compete on this stuff.
Well, I don't think we're going to compete. I think based on what I've heard, you're going to kill me on any kind of memorabilia for sure. For sure. Moonbot 7's going to send us the Yanti shirts.
Whoa, hey, yes, you definitely. We need that. I'm all for that kid. I hope he does blow up this year. I mean, because he's a special talent, that's for sure.
All right. Elbert Phillips, I don't know what this means and why it's important, but I'm going to take a shot at it.
I would.
So obviously under Urban Meyer and Ryan Day, Ohio State's always not even in the past number 3. But they did play the first year that Nebraska was in I think it was the second year Nebraska was in the Big Ten. They played in Lincoln, and that was the Luke Fickell between Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer's season, in which Ohio State went 6-7. Now, whether they were ranked because that was early in the season, they could have been. But they were already only like 1-1 or 2-1 or something like that. So it's my guess is Ohio State was still ranked from being pretty highly ranked preseason, but that would have been the last time that they finished unranked. And then before that, oh my goodness, well, the 2 teams never played.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah. I don't know if they've ever played when Nebraska was ranked. So yeah, hard one. That's for all you analytics guys. Jump in there.
Well, I'll jump in with this one, Greg, that actually Nebraska, that last Mike Riley team, went to Columbus and they were like 7-0 and ranked like 7th or 8th in the country.
Oh, you're right. They were. Oh, I forgot about that.
And that was pretty ugly.
Yeah. I think that's when the wheels fell off. And yeah, that's the last year we were in a bowl.
Must have been like 2017.
That's right.
16 or 17.
Yeah. The one little bright spot of the Mike Riley era, there was a first half of a season.
Yeah, that was one of those deals where the schedule was just backloaded, and it got pretty rough there after a nice start.
And I think actually Nebraska should have lost a couple of those early games too, if I remember correctly. Like maybe a Northern Illinois game that they pulled out of their hat. I don't know. They're all kind of a blur to me right now.
Michael and everybody else, if you got to hit me up for anything, whether that's sponsorships or you got questions or you got ways to help the channel, or you can send me a helmet, just hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Let's just do that. MarkRogersTV at Gmail.
Or Greg, GREGG at HuskerOnline.com.
There you go.
All right. I won't give you my Gmail one because that's too hard to try to remember right now.
All right. Good stuff. Again, folks, you're going to help us considerably if you just let people know that we're here every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central Time. Talking Nebraska football, because we had a nice little crowd of about 80 on the line, but we would like to do much better than that. So please let people know that we're here. All right, Greg, anything else?
Gosh, I wish there was, but it's that time of the year right now, and we're all recharging our batteries, and can't wait to get started here in a couple weeks when we head to Indianapolis for Big Ten Media Days.
All right, I'm gonna solve this 2011 game
That's
once and for all. Ohio State was roughly a top 15 team to start the season, but they went 6-7. But that was an early season game. Oh my goodness, it'd take me forever to find 2011 in the rankings. Let's do this. I'll get there. You can tap dance, Greg, while I'm doing this. Let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. I think I got it. 2011 when they played Nebraska. Let's get these ads off the screen. Get that off there. My goodness. Why do I have to deal with that? No. There we go. 2011.
Has already looked it up.
You get it. When they played. Oh, no, that was later in the season. They were not ranked. Nebraska was ranked 14th.
Okay.
Because I thought that would have been earlier in the season. It was the 6th game. So Ohio State was already the 3-2 when they played.
And then they smoked Nebraska, and Nebraska dropped out of the rankings for good.
No.
Didn't they?
No, Nebraska beat them.
Oh!
That was the night Braxton Miller, Ohio State was up like by 21 points. I think Ohio State was up like 27-6, and Braxton Miller got hurt, and Nebraska came back and won.
That's right. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So there's your answer, whoever asked that. That is the one and only time Ohio State was not ranked when they played Nebraska.
And that's the only time Nebraska has ever been relevant when they played Ohio State.
Well, again, 7-0, Mike Riley.
Yep.
Okay, good stuff.
I'll send him an In-N-Out burger just because I still love him.
Yeah, from everything I've ever heard, great guy.
Oh, awesome guy.
I worked with a guy, a big Nebraska fan at ESPN, and he disliked Mike Riley so much. He used to call him Smiley. He just irritated him how happy he was and that he was okay with losing. This is in the mind of this particular person that he was so irritated that Mike Riley could still smile after he was losing football games that he called him Smiley.
I want to know who it is. I might know him.
There's probably a few more out there. A few thousand probably.
Yep.
All right. Good stuff, everyone.
Bristol's not that big.
All right. So Wednesday, we've got Ohio State live at 2. We've got Florida State live at 6. So we will see you all then. Appreciate you being here. And again, next Tuesday at 7 Central. So be here. Bring your friends with you. And we'll see you to talk Husker football. Thanks, Greg.
You betcha.